If you're an entrepreneur and your business is not yet registered, if you're looking to grow your registered business, or you're an accomplished professional. Our Elevate program supports you with access to finance, access to markets, access to capacity building. Sign up now or refer a friend at ecobank.com/elevate. Elevate by EcoBank. A better way, a better Africa.
Sant yàlla.
looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Now, those who say there was unanimity on candidate lead, they are wrong.
They are?
They are very wrong. You know, this is a list of 21 political parties and entities. 21. I'm not going to name them, but I will give you a gist of what is in here. They categorize it as 2021-2023 elections contestants, in brackets, political parties, meaning political parties that contested elections in 2021 to 2023.
Yes.
Who are those? Number one is Sobea APP. APP is Sobea. Number two, GDC. Number three, UDP. Only 3 political parties met that criteria. And then other registered political parties. So parties that contested elections were 3. Other registered political parties were ADD, Alliance for National Unity, GANU, Gambia People's Advancement Party, GPAP, People's Alliance Party, People's Progressive Party, and Unite. So you had 3 political parties that contested, and you had 6 political parties registered who did not contest any elections at all. Now, then the movements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 movements. And they say everybody on this list is equal.
Yeah, the movements are not even recognized yet by the IEC.
Exactly. And nor are some of them registered anywhere. Yeah. But when it comes to voting for the flag bearer, when it comes to voting on decisions, everybody on this list is equal.
And someone from the movement could contest and actually be put up as the candidate for...
Yes.
Okay.
But whose structures are you going to be using? You're going to be using the registered political parties who have a presence around the country. You're going to have to use their assets in order for you to win. If they don't give it to you, you can't win. So that is the issue behind the candidate-led versus the party-led. Then the one entity, one vote. Power sharing. The power sharing metrics was done in such a minute way that they even want to decide ministerial positions, ambassadorial positions, governorships. And UDP's position was, yes, be that as it may, we cannot accept something like that in terms of our relative strengths and what we bring to the table. And so there was a discussion, heated discussion over 3 weeks. to do a weighted averages proposal. The mediators did a weighted average proposals. And when you look at that weighted average proposal, it is applied globally. In all the countries that had coalition governments, I looked at them, one or two people around the room looked at them, every one of them adopted one form or another of a coalition matrix where weights are given to political parties. In this case, let me give you an example of what is meant by weights. In 2021, APP Sobea had 17,000 votes around the country. GDC had about 101,000, UDP 238,000. According to this frame, we are all equal. According to this frame, we are all equal. Never mind the relative electoral strength of each of those entities. And then, of course, you come down to the relative strength of the registered political parties, some of whom have verbalized during the debates that they've spent a lot of money just to register and have a presence around the country, and so therefore they cannot be equal to movements. And they voted us all down. So when you say there is unanimity, well, unanimity at the time the vote took place, we had APP Sobea and GDC as registered political parties. But the registration process for Unite was advancing. And we decided we are not going to contest that. If they want to count Unite as a registered party at that time, fine. And we accepted. So they had 3. We had 4 registered parties, 4 party-led. So how can 3 political parties for candidate-led be a majority for 4 political parties that are registered?
But they're probably taking into account the participation of the movements and alliances.
They didn't just take it into account. They counted them as entities. And that's why I keep emphasizing this one entity, one party vote. Everybody on this list is equal, and everybody has one vote. That's how the majority comes.
Okay.
Then the narrative shifted from consensus to 2/3 of the votes to a majority of the votes. If you count one entity, one vote, yes, that is correct. But our argument is, how do you neglect the electoral strength of the 3 political parties at the expense of movements who have not registered or are in the process of registering? And that's where the breakdown came.
Okay.
We had to take a walk. It was a principled walk. But our last words to the group before we exited was me addressing the chair, because the chair said he needs the floor to send a message to the group from some school children in Bansang. He says he was in Bansang, Asan Martin was in Bansang, Asan heard what the kids were saying. He says the kids implored him to tell us that they are counting on us to form a coalition. And he usually preaches. And I sat there and I listened to him. When he finished, I raised my hands. And eventually 2 people spoke before me. When I finally got the floor, I said to him, Mr. Chair, we agree that this country needs a coalition. That's why we are here. We agreed on that. But you are not imparting all of the message that's been given to you. And all of the message was, at least that's the message we've been receiving, you need to form a coalition, but that coalition has to be fair, it has to be honest, and it has to have integrity. Fairness, honesty, integrity. I said, this is what Gambians want. Gambians don't want a coalition just for the sake of a coalition. That coalition has to be built on fairness, honesty, and integrity. I said, this is what UDP subscribes to, and this is why we are here. At that point, Lamin came in, because he was held up on something else. He came in. He leaned on me and asked me what went on. I told him what went on. He said, I think we should trigger our in fact, the word he used was recusal from this process. Because we've reached a point where the differences are irreconcilable. Because these are three important differences that cannot be reconciled. And he got up. I got up. I took my book. These are the exact things we had. And we said we are leaving in order to consult our principals. And our principals will issue a statement on the fate of our engagement in this coalition. That's how we left.
Okay.
But Martin says that was unprofessional. I disagree. We were very professional, and that's how it happened.
Okay. And then you went straight to brief the party leader?
We went straight to brief him, and he says, I knew this was going to happen, but it was good we stayed the course. It was good we made a good case. Now it's time to consult with the National Executive and the Central Committee. He consulted them, came back to us and said, they say we should pull out. How do we do it? We write to them or say, we say no. A lot of things have happened because several people around the room went into different platforms actually saying UDP was the spoiler in this. So we said to him, the best option would have been for you to call a press conference, address the nation, and tell them the reasons why we are pulling out. That's how the Monday press conference came about.
Was it Monday or Tuesday?
It was on Monday, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Monday. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Monday the 27th.
That was Monday, yes.
Yeah.
That was Monday.
Yeah.
That was Monday.
So that's how the press conference came. That's how he briefed the nation on what UDP had done. If you saw the briefing note, it was a long briefing note because he had to explain the process, what we went through, in the clearest terms possible, and then open the floor to questions from the press.
So, okay, does the UDP's exit effectively end hopes of a coalition, or is there still room for negotiations before the elections?
But the party leader has said it at the press conference to say leaving this particular coalition talks does not mean that we don't want to form a coalition with anybody. He invited political parties that opted for party-led in the negotiations to join us to form a coalition. And he says he will personally work on it, and we'll help him, we'll support him in those discussions. If you recall, we already had an agreement in principle with PPP. We are at an advanced stage of discussions with another party when the pull-out came. Now, the issue...
What about GFA? Don't you have GFA already on board?
We already have GFA on board. It's, the reason why I didn't mention it is because they were not participating in this thing. But we had...
Well, they are in alliance with you, so you participating is them participating.
Is them participating, literally.
Yeah.
So we are open to a coalition.
And it looks like Golden Era,
Yes, Golden Era.
Might be coming on board because their
Era,
leader sat here and spoke highly of the UDP.
I saw it, and I thank Saho for his honesty and frankness. We will talk about this in the segment dealing with the state of politics now, but I cannot close this conversation on the coalition without saying that what this country needs the most is honesty in our politics. The people depend on us to be honest to them. They didn't send us in these negotiations to negotiate for ourselves. They sent us there to negotiate for them and their children and the children's children. This is the seriousness with which Gambian politics needs to shift to. Because at the moment, it's politics for riches, politics for power. We have to move away from that. the hopes, needs, aspirations of Gambians must be seen to be represented in our political parties. Now, there are people who are going to probably attack me on this, but honestly, what I saw in these 14 weeks has shown me a totally different prism of what Gambian politics is like.
What did you see?
I saw a country that is badly in need of good, honest, substantive leadership. I saw a country that is in need of leadership that is not self-aggrandizement. I saw a country that is in need for people to come together and speak the truth to power and speak the truth to themselves. This is what I saw. You know, I was joking with one of my kids. He was following these things in the States. He says, "Daddy, I think you've been in this game for too long. You should write a book."
I join him in encouraging you to write a book.
This is what he said.
Write a book.
He says, write a book, but particularly Gambian politics. Now, for Martin to say, we don't know Gambian politics, I actually laughed at that one. Because I cannot be born and raised here. Anybody who knows my background in New Perseverance, the late Sirif Sise, Anti-Flow, and my entire background in the rural areas, anybody who knows it knows that nobody knows this country better than Lare Sise.
Let's talk about the state of politics.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, we saw the formal alliance between President Barrow and Mama Kande. The GDC's participation in those talks was always questioned. How sincere are they about coalition? What does this tell us about the changing dynamics of Gambian politics?
But I just finished telling you some of the things that I learned from these 14 weeks sitting in that room. We've engaged everybody who should be engaged in a coalition.
Including GDC?
Including GDC, sometimes at the very top levels. I wasn't involved in the GDC part. I was busy with the others, but I know the party leader, Lami Mane, have been engaging.
Even party leader himself?
Has been engaging Mr. Kande. Now, what happened yesterday is a classic case of there are no permanent friends or permanent enemies in politics. But that is a bit stretching it. When you get into the microphone, for 10 years you've been heaping criticism after criticism after criticism on an individual. And eventually you swallow all of that and you end up aligning yourself with him. It's interest. I don't know what Mr. Kande's interest in that thing is, other than what I read his statement saying, the fact that I criticize him, the fact that I disagree with him doesn't mean that I cannot do business with him. So he's doing business with his nemesis, if you want to put it that way. And that brings me back to what I just said before we got into this. The things Gambians are looking for is that our politicians must be true to the people. You cannot call yourself a representative of the people when you do not represent the interests of the people. Now, somebody will say, but what makes you think he is not representing the interests of his supporters?
Indeed, yes.
Indeed, he's following the interests of his supporters. The question then becomes, how many of those supporters will remain with him on this new journey that he has started? But it's struck at the core of what I'm saying. In every election cycle in this country, you see this movement of politicians, alignments, realignments, cross-carpeting, and all of that. It never ends. And it's all about jockeying for power and money. Our politics should go beyond that. Our politics should strike at the heart of those rural kids out there who are walking barefoot to go to school. Make it possible for them to make it in this life. Make it possible for them to get an education that will allow them to compete like we have competed on the international scene. This is the system that this country needs to adopt.
I hear people say, you only get the type of leaders you deserve.
Yeah.
So what should ordinary Gambians be demanding from their political leaders, especially as we amble towards, December 5 this year?
I just named them: fairness, honesty, integrity. Look at all the corruption that is going on in the country. The audit reports.
Yeah, those are the politicians already in government. Now you have
even aspiring politicians need to be honest.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, because like you said, 10 years criticizing the corruption that you and I are criticizing.
Yes.
The wastage.
Even in his summer rally, he said the IEC. People keep saying it's the politicians that will light up this country. But it's not the politicians that will light up this country. It will be IEC. And he talked about how the 2021 election was stolen. Now, if he joins that group, I told somebody...
The alleged beneficiary of those stolen elections.
I told somebody... maybe we need to look at Mama Kande's move from a different perspective. Maybe he could go there to advocate for free, fair, transparent elections. If he made that kind of advocacy work, then the move could be justified. Because I think he was sincere when he made those statements. And if
so he's now trying to change it from within rather than from outside.
Yes, from outside.
Okay.
If you look at it from that point of view, it makes sense. The question is whether he will stick to that line of thinking when he goes to
State House. So the next few days will be crucial.
It has started. I saw yesterday all these red carpets in State House. It's like a visiting head of state is coming.
Yes.
And my late father used to say, they named me after their father, Sef Keba. He used to tell me in Mandinka, Baba, nying carpet wulang, ni katama kambaka ake hakilo kurandil. He used to tell me that this red carpet has a disease. Once you keep working on it, it affects your thinking.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yesterday, the president didn't work. Several of his ministers didn't work.
Well, actually, I understand they had a cabinet meeting, and this event was supposed to have begun at 3 o'clock, but like every event in this country, it started late.
But we have to even start questioning whether it's appropriate for the president to hold those political meetings at State House.
Well, haven't we been asking for years now?
Yes, and we are going to change it. When UDP comes to power, our politics will be done outside of State House. What we do in State House will be based on state business. Nothing more, nothing less. You will not see us do politics at State House.
Did Jawara hold such events in the State House when he was there?
Minimally. Jawara used to do most of his things at the PP Political Bureau.
Okay. When it came to politics,
yes,
he took them away from State House.
Yes,
unless they were state
related. He did that, and he also had a penchant for organizing meetings in Brikama.
And then, of course, Yahya Jammeh came and pitched a tent there.
Yes, just for political activities. Now, this guy has extended the tent to a totally different level.
Oh, it's even bigger now?
Gambia.
It's a more modern era.
Well,
it's a more...
We will dismantle all those tents. At least if we don't dismantle them, they will not be there for political and personal purposes of the president.
Amid all our internal politics and what have you, there's also the issue of our relationship with Senegal, which has to be important in all kinds of conversation, as long as you're talking about governance. Growing concerns about security in parts of the country. I spoke to the information minister earlier about this. He dismisses it. There are no security concerns apart from, homicides and crime, which is not unique and alien only to the Gambia.
Well, that's another point of view. How do you explain Senegalese soldiers entering Gambian territory with heavy equipment to bulldoze a wall that is in the heart of the country? How do you explain that? How do you explain Senegalese soldiers going into communal lands in Panchang and asking them to move away from their ancestral lands that they've been farming for centuries?
That's how serious
That's
the
how
issue
serious
is.
the issue is. And in spite of what the minister was telling you, just this morning before I left the house, there was a flash message on Facebook saying the Senegalo-Gambian Secretariat has worked out the border issue and that everything is under control.
I'm not sure they've worked out. They've managed to bring the two sides together
read the headline today.
To begin.
At least that's the impression that it has been resolved. They made that statement. It has been resolved. Now, if
resolve will only be after mutually agreed, demarcation.
They even went to say that they have agreed on the demarcation lines.
Oh, have they?
Yes, that's what it says. Now, if that's what happened, congratulations to them. And it's about time they come out and tell us what was achieved. Because the president has been very quiet on this vital national security issue. And it's a security issue. These borders between Gambia and Senegal, both on the north and the south side, have been clearly demarcated by the colonial boundaries. For either country to move into each other is unacceptable under international law.
Government is saying, they are going about this, sensibly. And the opposition, according to them, is politicizing the border issue. What do you mean?
You think I'm politicizing when I say a fact like Senegalese soldiers armed to fight, entering Gambian territory, bulldozing heavy equipment?
Oh yes, they will say you are politicizing.
They will say I'm politicizing.
You are sensationalizing the language because it's an election year.
I am saying this is not about elections. This is about the sanctity of our national sovereignty. And the president and his team have been given the mandate to guarantee our national safety and security. That's the point I am making. If the Senegalese never came into the country, bulldozed those walls, we would not be talking about it, would we?
But the Senegalese are saying they did what they did because that is territory that belongs to them.
It doesn't.
The Gambia is violating the territorial integrity of their country.
So Bullock belongs to them. Is that what they are saying?
But they didn't take the whole of Bullock.
No, but the area that they took has historically been Bullock.
Okay.
That's why the wall was put there. Now, Panchang, how do you explain Panchang? I know that Panchang area. I think it's in Upper Salum.
Okay. But Panchang borders on Senegal, does it?
Yes, it's all of the Gambia is bordered with Senegal except for the Atlantic Ocean.
Well, Banjul does not border.
That's part of the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay.
So I'm saying, Panchang, those are ancestral lands. Armed soldiers came and drove away farmers to not farm in the middle of the rainy season. That is serious. That is not politics. People's lives are being affected by it. And anybody who says that is being politicized is remiss. What we are saying is, talk to us, the things that you are doing to solve this problem.
How should we solve this problem?
Negotiate.
Let's say the UDP was in power and something like this came up. How would, the UDP, whether it's a UDP government or UDP-led government, have handled the situation?
I think, in all fairness, it's about time Gambia and Senegal had a very frank discussion on our borders. There are maps in the National Archives who show exactly which part of the Gambia belongs to Gambia, which part of Senegal belongs to Senegal. If we disregard those historical facts, then conflict arises.
For sure.
You remember Bakassa, between Nigeria and
Bakassi Peninsula.
Bakassi Peninsula,
Yeah.
between
Cameroon
Nigeria and Cameroon.
Yes.
They went to war.
Yeah, of course, of course.
And the ICJ says it belongs to Cameroon. Nigeria accepted and pulled back. Why did they do that? Because there is oil in the peninsula.
Do you think Senegal is taking?
Oh, yes.
Because there's oil in our territory.
Whether it's oil or this strategic metals, there is people don't
precious metal.
Precious metal. People don't do things out of the blue like that. We talked about the borderline between Sangoma and our blocks A2 and 5.
Offshore.
There were indications that the border has been moved. So it's the same principle. If Senegal finds out that we have these rare earth metals in these areas, they would want to have it, wouldn't they? Now, mind you, some of the rare earth metals that are in the Africa continental zone, and no other place has them. So, all the big countries are now jostling to lay their hands in terms of contracts on rare earth minerals. We sat here, I sat here, and I said there are polymetallic nodules in our continental shelf. And a contract has been given to a Norwegian individual or company. We haven't had anything since then. But those polymetallic nodules are there, and they are very precious. They are very valuable. I did some research on them. Sometimes the kind of metals, including pearls, these high-end pearls, are all attracted to those nodules. Wow. So it's an economic bonanza if we had those rare earth metals out there, and instead of exploiting them, for our treasury, we sign a contract with somebody. Now, oil also. We sat here, we said there is oil in this country. And I think the analogy I gave was, oil was discovered in Mauritania. It was discovered in Senegal. It jumped Gambia, discovered in Guinea-Bissau, Cameroon, going all the way to South Africa.
Strange.
So what have we done to God?
We signed a contract for
yes.
Is it what? Exploration, exploitation?
Exploration. Exploratory contracts, two that we know. Yeah. Now, why would you say there is no oil, but you go ahead and sign contracts?
Exploratory contracts.
So, these metals are there.
You don't think they're being transparent on the issue of oil?
No. They are anything but transparent on the oil issue. They are anything transparent by the polymetallic nodules in our exclusive economic zone, and that's just it.
But between us and Senegal, I mean, we have two platforms we could use to resolve issues without necessarily, things flaring up. There's the Senegalo-Gambian permanent it's even called permanent secretariat. It doesn't matter who comes to office in Banjul or in Dakar, that secretariat is there. You inherit, that secretariat. Yeah. And now we have the Presidential Council.
The Presidential Council is there. The Border Commission is also there. So there are three different structures to deal with these sovereignty issues. And our issue is not so much Senegal coming into our country uninvited. Our issue is the silence on the part of our government. The president needed to come out and talk to Gambians about what is going on. These are Gambians are very anxious about this. I grew, part of my childhood, I grew up in Kauri, in that Panchang area. So I know the area.
Okay.
And I know people there. They've been following me on social media. So if I tell you some of the messages, they're saying, no, they're going to take us over.
Okay, well, I hope
so that's the anxiety people have, and that is the anxiety the government needs to address. You can't be silent and still tame the anxieties of individuals.
Okay. Finally, I don't know whether this is going to be a personal position, a party position. There's going to be, we hear officially, a new Chief Justice tomorrow. We heard about the response of the Gambia Bar Association when news emerged of the appointment of Idi Emofal as Alhaji Hassan B. Jallo's
Successor.
Successor, yes.
The UDP hasn't taken an official position.
So this is Lare's
on it.
Take on it.
And Lare will wait until UDP takes a position.
Okay, that's your position. We have 4 minutes remaining. How would you like to use up those 4 minutes?
No, what I would like to say to Gambians is that our political culture has reached a threshold where we need to have a rethink of where our national priorities are. We need to elect leaders who can take this country to the next level. We need to elect leaders who can guarantee that our national resources are there for Gambians. We need to elect leaders who have the intellectual muscle to compete and be respected out there in the international arena. We need to have a massive seismic change in our mindsets. I keep saying that to you here. And part of the massive mindset change has to hinge with this very necessary but difficult conversation on ethnic and identity politics. Mm-hmm. You know, yesterday I was following the things that are happening in State House. A lot of people have a lot of interpretations for it. All of that is unnecessary. If we had a clear-eyed strategy to talk about these issues, honestly, frankly, and agree.
What will it take, do you think, on this ethnic thing, for instance? And I keep saying, we are the ones shocked. It's me and you, because we grew up in a Gambia that didn't have this.
Yeah.
When we were the age of some of these people who are now going on all this social media and peddling polarization, that which divides, never that which, brings people together.
Yes. They call it democracy and free speech. That's what they call it. And I'm not going to dispute that. It is all about free speech, free association, free assembly, and all of that. But countries have enacted some very tough legislation that is intended to fight conflict and the potential use of social media to foment trouble. I always use Singapore as
an example
of that. You know, when AI came, Singapore was among the very first countries that developed a guideline for how AI should not be used to polarize their society.
Good for them.
Good for them. It's a prototype, and a lot of these big countries are covering it and taking it and modifying it to suit themselves.
And just as we embrace AI, we should also be wary
of its potential use to polarize us.
Exactly.
So the legislation is not there. But you can enact all the laws you want. If the leadership is not interested in bringing the country together and keeping it together and clamping down on people who bring polarization, it won't work.
So ultimately everything hinges on the type of leadership
the type of leadership we have. And sadly, that's the bottom line. Because everything we are seeing in our country, at least in the last 10 years, whatever comes from on top just filters down. Whether it's good or bad is immaterial. Those who are for it will latch onto it. Those who are against it will go against it. That's the divide we are having to deal with. So leadership matters. Vision matters. The intellectual muscle to articulate that vision and intellectual muscle is the penultimate power that we have. Unfortunately, since Jawara, we didn't have that. We don't have that yet.
And when will we have that?
When Usainu Dabo becomes president.
And when will Usainu Dabo become
December
president?
5.
Alaji Lare, thank you so very much. I made you an Alaji because you came here, you don't dress like an
I am an aspiring Alaji.
It's only the turban that is
I am
missing.
an aspiring Alaji.
Thank you for your time.
If you're an entrepreneur and your business is not yet registered, if you're looking to grow your registered business, or you're an accomplished professional, our Elevate program supports you with access to finance, access to markets, access to capacity building. Sign up now or refer a friend at ecobank.com/elevate. Elevate by EcoBank. A better way, a better Africa.
Lépp lay fay. sant yàlla. looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.